Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Adeptus Ridiculous podcast. My name is DK Diamantes, his name is Bricky, and why, it is that time of the month for Kirioth. But before we get into that, if you enjoyed today's episode and maybe you want to support the podcast, head over to patreon.com/Adeptus Ridiculous, where you can get access to the Discord, bloopers if they happen. $15 tier gets you access to all of our posters in whatever digital form you want to call it. It's great. You should check it out. Patreon.com/Adeptus Ridiculous. Bricky, say the stuff.
Yes, there's stuff. You can check out the merch at orchidate.com and all that great stuff, but we do have a sponsor for today's video, so I don't want to take too much of your time. We're just going to roll it and let it happen, I guess.
The confidence was overwhelming.
This episode of Adeptus Ridiculous is sponsored by Factor. It is the best meal service program out there. They have delicious, ready-to-eat meals, never frozen, always fresh, with a ton of options like Calorie Smart, Keto, Protein Plus, Vegan, and so on. They are incredibly easy to eat. You pop them in the microwave for just 2 minutes and you are good to go. It skips all the parts of your day that are annoying, grocery stores, tons of prep work, cooking fatigue, and so on. It is the easiest service out there, and it is something that I have used consistently. So go ahead and scan the QR code on your screen or check out the link in the description to see all of the options available and the convenience it will be to you. And use the link below or the QR code to get 50% off and free shipping on your first Factor box. That is coupon code Adeptus MAR50. Check it out in the description or use the QR code in front of you. Thank you, Factor, for sponsoring this video. Welcome back. We've returned. I may have fumbled that one a little bit, but it's all right. Thank you, everyone, so very much for supporting us and the podcast. We try to make the opening short whenever there's an ad, just so that we don't take up too much of your time. Hello, everybody. How are you today?
Daylight savings time can eat my... I don't want to swear this early into the thing. Daylight savings time has been beaten up on me. It's just an hour difference, and I cannot get over it. And
not happy about it.
Nope.
It do be a little rough at times, a little gruff, one might say.
Just ignore it. Make it everyone else's problem. Just carry on like you were before, and demand that everyone else follows along with it, and see what happens.
Show up an hour late to everything and just be like, I'm on time.
DK, you're an hour late. Yeah, whatever, sheep.
Brilliant.
I'm not late. You're early. Deal with it. That's just how things are.
Yeah, you need to be undeniably wrong as quick as you possibly can be. That's the power.
Hell yeah.
I will say we've had a fun stretch of content as of recently. We had our foods, we had our Bite and Blast episode, and then now it's good old Kirioth time. And Kirioth, I mean, you are coming hot off the heels of the Malkador episode.
Yeah,
and that's a big one, my man.
Yeah.
I mean,
big shoes to fill.
The only thing we can do is hope to like maintain the level, but I will settle for like a step down. Because I'm also realistic. So, you gotta make sure that things sort of stay consistent, right? That's the way to do it. You aim slightly lower, and then it's wonderful when you exceed expectations. If you do, which we will, so it's fine.
The only thing consistent about this podcast is its inconsistency.
It comes out when you expect it to. That's the promise. That's the Adeptus Ridiculous guarantee.
That is true. We end up making sure we always can get the episode out on the times that are required. What we do past that is anyone's guess. But we're rolling from it.
That's the important thing. Consistency is key. So, in the spirit of consistency and maintaining standards, I've got a quote for you.
Hell yes.
And to be sure that we're consistent, I'm sure I'm going to get it wrong.
I love how there's the two reactions between the two of us. So I was like, let's go. And you were like, oh.
I love it. It's always one of excitement.
Depression again. Great.
Yeah.
Classic. All right. Hit us with it.
A shroud of darkness blankets the world. Smoke and brimstone spews from the yawning gates of Inferno, enveloping the lands where people have abandoned God and openly wage war against his creation? Who do you think's waging war here?
Okay, so my first thought is like open of thing. It sounds like kind of Vash story, not him specifically, but like some kind of like demon fortress world of like production and stuff.
Definitely.
But the idea that the Imperium has a world called Inferno that particularly wages war against the dark gods also makes a lot of sense. So I'm not 100%, but that's kind of the vibe I'm getting is like demon fortress world production something.
Yeah, it's definitely like some kind of demon world. I'm just gonna go for the obvious. It's some world that's been conquered by like corn, world eaters. You know, it's icky, it's sticky. Maybe it's like are
Icky
there
and
demon?
sticky.
Yeah. Well, you know, with demons you got to be icky and sticky. Ooh.
Okay,
But
Hey,
there's-
hey, Bricky,
I don't
you're
know
so
if
fine,
they're.
Bricky, you well, my name, Bricky. Hey,
You're not,
hey.
and you don't.
oh Lord,
Damn.
harsh. The immediate shutdown.
Listen. I'm trying to get this quote. I'm trying to get this quote wrong here. Okay.
I mean, you are succeeding in getting it wrong. But to be fair,
Wow,
you both
we are
are.
all killing each other this morning.
You've overlooked a couple of key components.
Okay.
All right, share these components with us.
Okay.
This is just the episode for just slapping down, isn't it? So the word God showed up, but it wasn't God Emperor. And there was talk of waging war against his creation.
Mm-hmm.
But could you say that the God Emperor has created the universe himself?
What
No.
the hell are you smoking?
What?
Shy's got it.
Oh,
I'm dodging.
No. Is this are we doing Trench
dodging
Crusade
Malkador.
today?
Trench crusading.
I'm dodging Malkador by doing a completely different universe.
Oh, that's
I thought
how
it'd be
you're
more fun to not
dodging
warn you.
Malkador.
You just didn't even tell us that it wasn't a Warhammer episode.
Nope.
Jesus. All right.
We-
That's one way to make sure we don't get the quote right, though. Yeah.
I'm assuming.
I mean,
we're
I
trench
might-
crusading.
I might stick with that in future. I'm just not going to tell you what what the basis of the quote is even from, and then see what the interpretation is.
Damn, we were so far off, Bricky. Holy shit.
I mean, like, it's because he told us to dress for the wrestling meet, and we were playing tennis. I don't have my racket, man.
Yeah, we were dressed for a WWE event, and he's taking us to fucking Wimbledon.
I would pay to see that. I'm just saying.
Mid-air in a jump into my pool for 4 minutes, and he drops this with me.
The most popular new lock screen. Let's go.
Listen, I'm not making another episode of That's Ridiculous until these views hit at least 10,000.
We got to at least get 10,000.
Next episode starts with 7 years ago. Our fathers brought forth, and it's about Warhammer Fantasy.
Yeah.
Oh God. Okay. Yeah, I'm afraid I did absolutely throw you not just a curveball, but just outright, in some ways, did a live omission. We're talking Trench Crusade, and specifically, we're going to talk about the Heretic Legions. And depending on how long we go for, there might be a little bit of mention of the Court of the Seven-Headed Serpent. But main focus, we're going Heretic Legions. The ones who are actively fighting against literally God and the rest of humanity.
That's pretty
They're
good.
great.
Also, the Seven-Headed Serpent were the ones that were really like body horror, right? That you like so much?
The Seven-Headed Serpent are like, yeah, they've got like the Sorcerer who's a bit demony. They've also got like the Praetor. There's like a mix of knights with guns, for instance, which are fantastic, and also intestines everywhere. They're not quite as severe as the Black Grail, but they're kind of up there in weird units. The Heretic Legions are like the mortals, like the proper, mostly humans with a few extras, like the Artillery Witch or the Death Commander.
It's my favorite pinup girl.
The Desecrated Saint is my favorite because it has like the guy sitting in like the middle of all of that nonsense. Just like knees up and just shivering in terror in this just massive, disgusting maul of. Bleh.
No, we know it's seven-headed serpent, Shy. I think we're just pointing out which
Oh yeah.
looks the coolest.
We're talking about Heretic Legion.
awesome.
We might get to this later, but yeah.
Also, isn't the dude into the chest not? I think he's smiling. I think I remember seeing the artwork and he's just like, hey.
He's having a right whale of a time. He's loving it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Got
Hey
the
guys,
world's
check
best
out my
baby
new
carrier.
ride. Yeah.
He is. I was right. Yeah, she's chilling.
Or is that just a skull?
No,
Is he smiling, or is that just a skull?
Zoom in.
Enhance.
Aren't all skulls smiling in some way? I mean,
Only the happy ones.
well, yeah, that's true.
But yes,
I guess it
okay.
kind of is, yeah.
So Heretic Legions.
Yes, the Heretic Legions, your kind of bread and butter troops, your normal guys, definitely not normal, obviously. So, the main Satanic military force in the Great War are the Heretic Legions. And there are a lot of them because when the gates of hell opened and Jerusalem was swallowed up in a massive inferno and everything went wrong, a full third of humanity serves hell at this stage. So literally 1 in 3 people have bent the knee to real, actual hell, which is a big number. It's kind of excessive, but as you'd expect, obviously, this being Trench Crusade, there is a reason for a third by the look of things. So the measurement of 1/3 is used quite a bit in the Book of Revelations. So in Revelations 9:15-18, there is a specific statement of, and the 4 angels who had been kept ready for this very hour and day and month and year were released to kill 1/3 of mankind. The number of the mounted troops was twice 10,000 times 10,000. I heard their number. So there's like a direct thing of 1/3 of the human race gets annihilated, specifically by 4 angels, but there's kind of a nice basis there for why 1/3 of humanity might have turned over to hell in the Great War between like light and dark, I guess would be the way to phrase it.
Do we know much about the angels?
Not really. There's not a huge amount of stuff about angels in Trench Crusade at the moment. Whether they expand on that in the future, I don't know. I think it's one of those things where an angel would be powerful enough to significantly alter the course of things, and so they don't really interfere, just as there isn't any like proper direct action from God, and the archdevils of hell aren't necessarily going out themselves to fight. It would kind of break a bit of a covenant and could end up in just everything getting wiped out. So instead it's almost like a proxy war in a way, where you've got a bunch of mortals fighting each other, but you don't want the actual like celestial or hell-bound beings joining in, because the measure of power just gets a bit much, and there would be nothing left at the end of it.
So the angels aren't like Primarch scale. The angels are like, oh yeah, they're like godly beings almost. Like it'd be like, oh yeah, this is why we don't want Khorne to join a fight.
Yeah, from what I've seen, it seems to boil down to they are just so powerful that they would absolutely obliterate everything they came into contact with. And they don't also want to do that to the faithful, because it's not necessarily, I would assume, like a controllable power. It's just, they have landed and everything disappeared.
Die.
Yeah, that's the overall lore for the Heretic Legions. It is some of the most fun for me because of like how horrifying and over the top it is, even by the standards of Trench Crusade. And part of that because we get stuff like glimpses into hell as a place. So the church will send spies into hell's domains. They get absolved before leaving, and most of them obviously get caught, disappear, never come back. Some of them do come home with information. A few of them get back to New Antioch, but they don't have their body. They're just an eternally screaming head that's got blasphemous runes carved into it. So that's nice. Some of the spies will just be like delivered back just ahead,
Is
always
is that
screaming,
like
never
a
stopping.
is that like a Seven situation where Hell specifically re-delivers it to be like, hey, we know you're watching. Here's the head of your spy. Be
I,
afraid the
f-
next time you try this.
I feel like it's a warning thing.
Okay.
It's like, we know. Not only do we know, but we can do things to your people that make them effectively exist in a horrific state and in eternal pain and unable to die, which is a pretty decent threat. You know, I don't think I'd volunteer after seeing that personally.
No.
But some of them do make it back and they do have actual information to report. So, in no particular order, some of the reported things that the spies have brought back: that there are inverted pyramids and towers made of iron and black stone, that there are cathedrals to the princes of hell hanging from arches of volcanic stone while condemned get crucified on upside down crosses. Bit hardcore quality. There are sacrificial altars where captives are sliced to death over days and weeks. There's
Okay.
also
That's
I'd-
that's my stuff right there.
I was gonna say
Oh.
this is a Night Lord's wet dream.
I'm
I'd say
here. I'm
it's pretty
I'm
rough.
loving my time here.
Jesus.
There's also firstborn being thrown into the mouths of burning statues.
All right.
Hell yeah.
You've got
Hell yeah.
you've got human flesh being sold at like dark markets within hell. And another quality biblical reference: idols of the golden calf, and men and women who like prostrate themselves in front of the idols of the golden calf, carving their own skin off as an offering to it. So, pretty bad.
Carry off,
Overall,
can you
not
can you
great.
define prostrate for us?
So, like, sort of going flat on the floor in front of something. It's like an act of worship thing.
Yeah, it's like
Get down
like a
on the
deep
floor on your
prayer.
belly.
Thank you
Yeah,
very much. Because I think my brain heard castrate. And I was
that's
like, that's a different one.
You
It's-
know, with how you
it's-
were like, Kyria specifically explained that to me. I was like, he heard prostate.
I did not hear prostate.
I was
You can
like-
how do you prostate yourself in front? I mean, that being said, the
I mean-
devil would like that stuff.
Yeah, he
He's
sure
all-
would.
He would be happy for that kind
Mhm,
of thing.
mhm.
there's an archdevil of lust. So,
Who?
there's there's options. There's options if you really want to go that way. I will also say that Possum has made a very good observation here, that the above, especially the non-Euclidean geometry, are all the things you see while attempting to find the bathroom whilst you're wasted at a Wetherspoons, which is 100% correct. And literally anyone who's British listening to this will agree. And they need to sound off, because they know that is exactly how Wetherspoons worked.
At a Wetherspoons, huh? Is that like
Popular
being,
pub?
being fucked up at like a yard house kind of deal, or
Yeah, it's a chain of pubs that do very
Gotcha.
cheap everything. And, especially if you're a student, it's a good place to get a bad but cheap meal and then get so drunk you can't stand. Great for that.
What
Terrible
would
for
that-
everything else.
What would that be for us, DK? Like a yard house or something, maybe? Or
Yeah,
like
Yard House or like a BJ's.
a BJ's. Yes, a BJ's. That
Yeah.
that feels more college core.
Yeah, definitely.
Though even the BJ's are expensive now. It's
They are. Yeah, yeah. Love a
Yeah,
good
I
Yard
don't-
House though.
I don't know how cheap Wetherspoons is anymore. I feel like they got hit pretty hard during the whole pandemic thing. It might be that they're not the place to go, but I'm old now, so I don't have any other frame of reference.
fair enough.
This was hip when I was young, I swear.
So this is the question I have, the biggest question. Normally when it comes to a lot of these factions, there tends to be like a reasoning for the horrible things they do. In a heretic's mind, what are they thinking? And they're like, "Yep, this is the right call." Like why are they thinking that? Like why are they like, "You know what, firstborn, into the pit."
You come here. I've got something I want to do to you. So there's there is like one of the quotes from the Lore Primer. It specifically says, "Once proud cities of earth, where churches have been toppled and entire populations are now dedicated towards bringing down the very throne of heaven." for me, I think part of it might simply be that there are places within that region where there is essentially like hell on earth in a way. So if you are one of the people in that region, whether it's a corrupting thing, whether it's a feeling of abandonment that no one has come and, closed the gate between hell and the real world. Plus, there's one of the things that is like kind of interesting is the actual like descriptions of hell. So at the moment, like current conceptions of hell are based off the work of Dante and the poem Paradise Lost by Milton. But when it comes to just like the biblical side of things, there's no actual description of what hell looks like. There isn't a kind of breakdown of this is where it is, this is what it is, this is what it appears as. The closest that you get really is the usage of the word Gehenna, which was a real world location in Jerusalem that was basically a big pit for incineration that may in the past have been used for things like human sacrifices, specifically on the like child end of the spectrum. So the usage of that word doesn't mean that Gehenna was hell, but it could be like a close real world example as to what hell is like. Effectively a massive burning pit where there is, sacrifice and suffering and the like. And the fact that it, would obliterate anything thrown into it. So you can kind of look at the Trench Crusade lore and double back to the idea that the legions of hell are reflective of how things look in the modern physical world. So hell might be its own place, but it's also potentially manifested as an actual location on Earth. And so there is just occupation. There are people who have grown up in that area, who are born in that area, who either willingly join hell to fight against the faithful or are just outright forced to. So something that they do have is a unit which is called the Wretched. And the Wretched, they are not in a good position. They're not having a great time. They sort of get a choice, really, as one of the Wretched. So either someone who's been captured and falls into the hands of Heretic Warband, it might be someone who like exists in a city or town that is within that kind of hell area. It might be that you get traded around as a slave, but there's a few choices you get as Wretched. So you can either get worked to death in the factories, not a great choice. You could get butchered for meat, also not ideal. You could get sold to like agents of the Court of the Seven-Headed Serpent to be used as but you do get to be used as a battery, basically raw power for goetic spells. So those are your choices when it comes to a horrible death. Or alternatively, you can volunteer to serve in the Heretic Legions. So you basically just become a penal trooper. You're completely disposable, but if you rebel against God and perform a sufficiently impressive or great deed, you actually get freedom. You are given your freedom. You have rebelled against God. You have successfully, done damage to the faithful in some way. And if you do that, you will be set free because hell has a code, even if it is a horrible and, completely messed up one. But really, in practice, it means you just get driven in front of warbands as a bullet sponge or a buffer for charges. And you also have got tattoos that are like cursed so that you can't escape. And they're constantly drugged very heavily so they don't have free will. But they do have untouched aggression. So, there's ways out. But if you think that people who aren't willingly going towards hell, they will capture people and those people will find that the way to be free is to essentially fight for them anyway. So yeah, it's also like, because there are places on Earth that are controlled by hell, but not actually in hell, there will be people who are born and raised in occupied areas. So the chances are you you don't have a choice. You
You're
either
born
serve
into
hell.
being a wretched.
Yeah, yeah. But you can like voluntarily like become a heretic trooper, which is something we'll get to in a minute, which is a whole process. But yeah, hell is it seems to be a kind of mix of what you might picture hell as being in terms of somewhere that is other to Earth, but it also controls part of Earth. It's also like actively infringing on Earth, and there's multiple gateways from hell to Earth. So it's like a whole occupation thing going on as well.
Can I ask real quick? So you said like hell has a code, right? And it's like, oh yeah, if you do significant damage to the holy armies, they'll give you freedom. Is that like for real, or is that just like a carrot that they're dangling and they're just like, oh yeah, you did really good, but now we're gonna kill you? Like, did they
It's
actually let you free and they just let you go and you can just do whatever you want and they'll just let you be?
you get set free, you can go about your business. It's actually literally a rule in the tabletop side of Trench Crusade, which is fantastic. So, Law of Hell. If a wretch manages to take any enemy elite model out of action or performs a glorious deed, it gains its freedom and is immediately removed from the battle and from your warband permanently.
Oh,
So-
God.
oh,
It
so they-
sounds
they
like in
are-
the tabletop you don't want to do that then because you lose a dude.
Well, I assume that the wretched are pointed in a way that makes them so like vastly one-use missiles that whether they die or killed, they're supposed to be then removed from the battle, right?
They are cheap. They're not just cheap, but they also can't take any equipment that costs more than 10 ducats. So you're talking the most basic stuff. They also can only have melee weapons, from what I can understand from the rules. So you can give them a bit of armor, you can give them a melee weapon. They don't get guns, and yeah, they are fodder. But if one of them, does something particularly impressive, he's gone. He's free. You've got to take him out of the warband and out of the battle, and that like character, so to speak, they are no longer part of your group because he did the thing, and hell has the rule. If you do it, you get set free, which is kind of cool, to be honest.
Reminds me a little bit of this might be a bit of a deeper cut. Command and Conquer 3 Cain's Wrath has a unit which is like the Fanatics.
Yeah, I remember those.
Yeah, they're just like our lives for Cain, and then they just like they just run at people and do like unfathomably large amounts of damage. But then either way, they either get shot and killed, which soaks up some spots for all of your other units to like kill them, or they do their job and they're gone also. And so it's like, hey, like you win either way.
Yeah,
True.
yeah. It's not great being born in the hell sort of infected areas. One way or another, you are probably going to end up fighting for them. And as Shai says, like after you've fought the faithful and earned your freedom, I mean, by that point, where do you actually go and what do you do?
I was actually going to ask that once I saw that message from Shy and we got to it, because it's like you cannot go back to a normal life because the armies of like the holy God are not going to take you in and they're going to kill you on sight. You're not going back to hell. Do you just find like an isolated little corner of the world where there's no fighting and just pray that no one finds you?
I feel like you're locked
where
in.
do you even go once you're
right?
free?
You're just locked in. You're now fighting for hell. Like you've actively betrayed God. And presumably God will be like, no, you're not coming over to anywhere where the faithful exist because you have been actively murdering, faithful souls.
Chances are God's got like an eye on you and is going to keep track of you because you specifically did something that hell really appreciated and killed a really holy person. And so good luck, Chuck.
No matter what you do, you are out of luck, basically. And with the wretched, it's just like the worst version of it because they just have no choice. Because you can like voluntarily decide I'm going to go and serve hell, and let's talk about the Heretic Legionnaires because they are like the foundation of the Heretic Legions, and I'm just going to read you this direct quote from the lore primer, because this, to me, this feels like the most insane amount of effort to work for beings that are actively like ruining your entire planet. So, those who wish to win a place amongst the Heretic Legions must make an unholy pilgrimage to the burning bronze gates of hell, where even from leagues away, the infernal heat sears both flesh and spirit until the pain becomes unbearable. In the Valley of Tears, the great road that leads to the gate, paved as it is with wailing souls and lamentations, is littered with endless mounds of charred bodies. And it gets worse. Many are still half alive, writhing in agony, trapped in a grotesque twilight between life and death, their wickedness deemed insufficient. Like, they weren't awful enough to make it, so they are now trapped as a half-burnt corpse, but still alive. These discarded souls are doomed to writhe in agony until the day of judgment. So, there's a fail state for this. If you decide you voluntarily want to serve hell and you're not a wretched, you just want to make the pilgrimage, and it's bad. Those who make it within sight of hell's maw are considered worthy and are initiated into the legions, taking unbreakable vows that chain them into the darkness for all eternity, their bodies branded with the mark of the devil lord that has claimed them. At that point, they get armor, they get equipment, and they are officially a Heretic Legionnaire.
Like, I'm not gonna lie, like, I'm sorry to boss baby this, because I am going to boss baby this, but, like, I'm getting quite the Corn vibe, where it's like, yeah, listen, like, this sucks and everything, but hey, you put in the work. You lift yourself up by the bootstraps, you know, you grind, and hell will, like, reward you, but this time it's, like, actually real.
I guess that makes
Yeah.
sense because Korn is very much so like your stereotypical devil personification anyway, right? So it would track that like you're getting Korn vibes from this.
It's just the sheer effort. It's the sheer amount of effort. It's like Earth is an absolute hellscape, literally, in several places because of actual real hell full of actual real devils and actual real tortured souls. And you've got people going, I want me some of that so badly that I'm going to risk becoming a burnt mound of flesh screaming for eternity. Because if I do get there, it'll be great. Like, that's a worrying level. I'm assuming at this point that actually in the Trench Crusade universe, therapy has not been it's not been created. It doesn't exist. There's no such thing as therapy there. Because I feel like some of these people
I was gonna say in
a
the
good talk for
Crusades, yeah,
someone.
there probably wasn't a lot of therapy. In the Holy Crusades of God versus the devil. Yeah, probably not a lot
Yeah.
of therapy going on. Yeah, it's just nope, nope.
You can go a step further as well. If you get to like within sight of Hell's Maw and you think, no, I can do better than this, you can push on even further and approach the gate itself. And if you've got strong enough willpower to carry on, you can push forward. Your skin will go on fire, which is a problem, but it's worth it because if you can enter Inferno itself, you can become one of the anointed. The anointed are badass, and they are described as paragons of unhinged brutality. So the skin is blackened and burnt. It never heals. They're in like permanent pain, from what I understand. But they get to wear heavy Gehenna armored suits, which there's a Gehenna mention again. And they can carry weapons that just normal humans can barely lift. So that dude right there has got basically a big old flamethrower and incredibly strong armor, all because he walked through the gates of hell and had all his skin burnt off.
Kind of reminds me of a Darth Vader-esque deal.
I love how he's also like, I don't know. It's like you see the original Wretched, and they're obviously having these large, like, lacerations and missing parts of their skin on their body. And this dude just feels like the end goal of that, except he hopped on a cycle and he's just like really buff now.
He sure is.
Also, I love the fact that he's also carrying what is basically just like a gas can And the fact that his entire body is so burnt, like, I know it's not the reason why, but it looks like he's like, "Well, this was kind of my mistake here. I was a little bit, I was a little bit too rambunctious with my flamer.
It's his cross to bear.
Haha."
He's
Uh-huh.
oh dear. He's committed. He's committed to his approach. Might have malfunctioned once before, but hey, you just keep doing it. It's fine. Besides, if you burn 2 more people than you accidentally set on fire from your own side, that means you're winning. I just like the fact that you've got what is essentially a suit of armor and like more of a kind of traditional sort of suit of armor as opposed to a sci-fi one, and then just gun with petrol can attached. I just love that mix of stuff in Trench Crusade. A lot of it is like, here's a medieval knight and he's holding a shotgun. Why? Who cares? It looks great. That's the important bit. The rest of it, kind of irrelevant.
Also, how shit does your life have to be to show up to this place? The road is literally writhing, suffering souls that couldn't make the journey before. The most demonic yellow brick road ever. And you're just like, yeah, I'd win. Like,
I mean, are they born in it? Do they have the choice?
It's the question, isn't it? It's like that some of them, they do have the choice. Like, they will make a pilgrimage to do so. So just how bad a time did you have in school?
Yeah.
Like how rough was the last couple of years where you went, you know what? I really do think that I could literally walk into hell, and I think it's worth a try. But
Yeah.
the thing is, it does literally get worse. So there is like the step 3 of this program, as Shai has said. So the choristers. Now, what I've written this kind of 1 sentence introduction, and I'm going to read it, and it sounds like I'm being really over the top and like I'm just oversimplifying, but I'm genuinely not. So,
Listening.
Mm-hmm.
have you ever hated God so much that you willingly travel into hell and then self-terminate?
Can honestly say have never.
No,
Sorry, fam. Nah.
no, not in for that one. Okay, that's
No.
fair. So
you wouldn't get it.
that is basically sometimes. So the choristers, they take the whole idea of like the Heretic Legionnaires and the anointed, and they really ramp it up. So they properly hate God, and they will head into hell and commit the ultimate sin. So like self-terminate, a mortal sin. You should not self-terminate. And they willingly do it to sacrifice themselves to hell. So some of the heretics will have a particularly good or like sonorous singing voice, but they won't have any real prospects of rising through the ranks. But if they are properly motivated, if they really, really want to go for it, they can go down the dark path of becoming a chorister. They will find black altars at the bottom of these like inverted pyramid temples, the ones that are dedicated to the various archdevils. Then they get all dressed up, looking real nice in their dark robes. Then they'll lie on the altar and mutilate themselves to death by carving runes into their flesh. And the more that they can suffer before they die, the more pleasing their offering is. Their offering being, them, their soul, their entire literal life. And the ones that really want it, the ones that are super, super on board for becoming someone carrying their own head around, they will self-terminate, trying to cut as deep as possible before they bleed out and die. Now, most of this doesn't work for them. They don't get anything out of it. They just end up in the lake of fire, eternal torment, suffering, etc., etc., usual hell stuff. But Some of them get reborn as choristers after 9 days, and they'll stand up, they'll finish cutting their own heads off, and then they will hold their head out and it'll start to sing hymns that they've learned whilst they were in the lake of fire, which, funnily enough, causes all sorts of issues for the people around them. So the faithful, if they hear the sound of this, it causes extreme problems for them. And they just sort of wander out, join a warband, and travel across no man's land, singing horrible hymns out of their decapitated faces, whilst their blood vessels make weird sigils and signs coming out of their neck. They are easily one of the most horrible things for the Heretic Legionnaires, to be honest.
I mean,
Yeesh.
so like, I mean, they got the weird runes and sigils, but what do they like do? Is it the hymn? Are they just like a big debilitating hymn screamer, or like do they have
Yeah.
like murder?
Yeah, they cause extreme problems of like strength and resolve weakening. Like as they sing, it just makes the enemy feel not at all good, because all of the hymns are just prophecy. Like it's just a constant prophecy of hell's going to win, hell is going to win.
Mhm.
You cannot fight, you are going to lose, just constantly. So as Shai put it,
Yeah.
the great military hospice of New Antioch has a separate wing for those who have never recovered from hearing a chorister's dirge, their minds forever lost in a vision of eternal damnation, tied to their iron frame beds, screaming of the world to come when all is covered under the darkness lit only by eternal flames. Nice.
Yeesh.
Hell yeah!
That's pretty metal, I guess. Would that be the right time that's pretty metal? Question mark.
I think that was
I think that's
I
pretty
think that's a
metal.
time for pretty metal. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just like their bed
I'll
frames.
give you that.
Haha.
Coping with humor, everyone. Let's go.
Something that I've just realised we've missed, which is sort of technically top of the list because it's the guys who lead the warband. But we were sort of talking about the occupation of hell and the like. There's heretic priests as well. They have their own version of priests
Of
because
course
you know
they
you
do.
got to have your own version of a
Sure.
priest.
Sure.
Now they're described as fallen priests, but I don't know whether that means that they used to be priests in the church who defected to serve hell, or whether they are just like it's a categorization of, well, you've got your normal faithful priest, therefore the hell version would be a fallen priest. I'm not entirely sure on that, but they get magic. They get actual proper goetic spells, and they learn the profane gospels, which when they speak them aloud, it causes the faithful to have a couple of side effects, like their ears bleeding or their eyeballs bursting out of their face. Nice.
Nice. Love that.
As they do. They look really sick though.
Yeah, they're awesome. So the goetic spell stuff is interesting because I need to double check the pronunciation of this. So Goetia, that's it. Goetia? Yeah. It's sorcery that is related to the usage of grimoires. And this is stuff that like goes back years and years and years. The term like the term grimoire comes from Europe, but there's a history of them going back to like ancient Mesopotamia and like ancient Egyptians employing magical practices, including incantations and the like. So it's something that has been around for years and years and years. And when Christianity spread, things like grimoires and their usage was not that uncommon. But then it became more and more frowned on. Then it became like, this is heretical. And timeline-wise, Goetia in the real world was revived by people like Aleister Crowley. So it's one of those like interesting like deep cut historical religious references brought into the game and made a definite thing that just happens, that just works. It's an entire school of magic that was kind of technically practiced in the real world, but fell out of favor. But is now it's heretic priests causing people's eyes to explode using it. So
Fell out of favor. Love that. Yeah, it's just like it just wasn't as big as it used to be, you know? Like it just doesn't have the same vibe.
I suppose that's underselling it a little bit, isn't it? when it's Christianity going, no, you're not allowed. I guess it's technically not falling out of favor. It's less just being told, don't do this thing. We'll be in trouble.
It's being told, knock it off.
Yes. Yeah.
Grimoires are on the banned book list.
No, you just couldn't get any decent reading material, could you?
Yeah.
I mean, they are definitely burning books.
Oh, 100%.
100%.
There's no way in hell they're not burning. And I mean that very literally. There is no way in hell they are not burning books.
Absolutely nice. That's actually pretty good. I'm gonna give that a +2. That's fair.
Thank
+2.
you. Thank you. I will take the +2 and I will add it to the amount of demonic hymns I will sing to ruin the lives of the faithful. What a world.
Peachy
It's a hobby, isn't it? It's a hobby.
It's a living.
So it's kind of a dead. Go ahead.
It's a great undeath, though, isn't it? Doing what you love, burning people, apparently. So we've got to bring her up quickly because you can't have a conversation about heretic forces without talking about the artillery witch because she's the best unit.
Our girl.
Let's
so
go.
Good. So just as a refresher, we've talked about her before. I think she's come up like in the previous 2 episodes, even though the second one there was no reason for it to come up at all anyway. But the fact is, artillery witches are badass. They are mute constructs, which it's said that they're constructs. Interestingly, the rules seem to just confirm that they're constructs. So in the lore, people aren't sure. In the rules, it looks like there's something that just indicates they are like a manufactured being of hell. And their special power is they can summon an infinite number of bombs. And I will say that every single time, the infinite number part, because it's important, from a factory in the 3rd circle of hell, and then they throw them at people. And that's the artillery witch.
It is the infinite number.
Think fast.
That is the most important part. Out of everything going on in the situation involving this singular model, it is the fact that it is pulling a megaton bomb out of hell. Everything about her is correct. And then there's the bomb, and it's so funny.
Yeah.
I really love her drip, though. I love the specifically the mask that they wear looks so cool. It's sort of like the faceless mask with the horns and like all the gold inlaying on it looks so dope.
One of the best designs and one of the funniest units. Just teleporting in bombs in a world where in the artwork there's aircraft. We've now had the moving fortress of Britannia confirmed, which is hilarious. Like there's so much stuff that is technologically advanced, and then there's this a witch that just throws bombs every time, and it's a specific factory as well. Like they specify in the 3rd circle of hell. That's the circle where all the bombs are made. All right. Now, is it specifically for her, or do they do general supply? I don't know, and I don't care. It's brilliant.
Is there any? Is it just a artillery witch, or are there like multiple artillery
there's multiple.
witches? Okay.
Yeah, yes. I'm not. I don't know that there's a specific number, but there's quite a few.
Yeah, just because I was
wandering
thinking that would also make a really sick, just like unique general unit. It's just, hey, that's the witch that has a factory that makes her infinite number of bombs.
But
like
it's just
that'd
the
be a
one
great
witch.
Yeah, just the one witch, and it's like
She just
that's
shows
kinda
up. It's like,
cool.
oh, why here? There's only one. Why is it here? I don't want this here.
Yeah,
Can we
right?
leave? I don't like this.
No, there's just one. Retreat. Let's go. She's gonna start flinging megaton bombs. We lost. Let's just get out of here.
I have to ask, just because this is a constant thing I'm noticing across the board. You've got the dude with the runes in his head screaming hymns with in his severed hand. You've got the artillery witch, which like that does not appear to be a helmet. That appears to be like some kind of grafted whatever is on her face. Do the soldiers of hell need to eat?
So from what I understand, the choristers are basically undead. Like they die, they're gone for 9 days, then they come back. The artillery witches, being constructs, I don't think they need anything in the way of sustenance. But you're like your regular dudes, your priests, your heretic troopers, your anointed, the wretched, they all need food. Like they all need to just do what everyone else does. They are still effectively normal mortals, kind of. I mean, the anointed, you've got they're bigger and stronger and the like, but they're still effectively a human. But yeah, your mortal guys, they've got to eat. But things like artillery witches, the warwolf assault beast, those are like constructs, so they don't have that sort of requirement, and the choristers are basically dead anyway.
Okay. I wasn't sure if there was like a weird situation where they had some kind of like particular type of sustenance directly from hell, or if they just ate the slaves that they occasionally had like if the hymn guy has to stop like singing so that he can just eat out of his severed head, or if they were just
I
like,
love that as a way to shut him up. Just shove a
some food
ration
in
in his
him.
mouth.
That
Just
or
starts
like
chewing.
I mean,
he just gently floats his head in a bowl of soup and
yeah. I don't know. I mean, it could be as silly as like real world things, like they could like photosynthesize like mushrooms. That's an option. I don't know, man. It's just all kinds of options there. So there was the thing I was looking at the face, and I was like, okay, well, how if they gonna eat or just hell just feed them? Anyway,
Teleport in an infinite number of chocolate bars and from a factory in
from a factory somewhere.
ninth circle of hell.
Demonic Willy Wonka factories down there just making tasty treats for the artillery witch. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or perhaps well, no, it's hell. It has to be a Mars bar.
Well, all right. That's
nice. Yeah, as Shai says it, like the hell occupied areas are like very heavily industrialized. So they're probably making Mountain Dew and Doritos for the boys. That's yep.
Hell yeah.
So we've also got the Heretic Death Commandos, which we have mentioned before. But there's like a little bit of extra information on these, which I really like. So it's time for the magic word. Child soldiers.
Oh,
we hadn't had any so far, but obviously,
Yes, that's my shit.
The Frostpunk player has arrived, everyone. Welcome.
Get to the mines, kids.
Yeah.
Get down there. You needed. So they're child soldiers. They're sent beyond the gates of hell to be raised as assassins. And the lore primer does reference select groups of like heretic youth. And of the ones that are sent, funnily enough, hardly any of them are chosen. Even few of them come back. But they stay in the 7th circle of hell. And they're taught how to fight and kill by the souls of the greatest killers and murderers who now reside in hell. Which, in my opinion, that's cheating. Hell is going to get all of the best murderers and killers. Like, heaven's not going to have any, are they?
Every great serial killer, every this, that, and the other thing, they're all going to go down to hell. So they're going to be the best trained.
Yeah, it's the Oxford of serial killers, right?
Yeah, they literally have access to the, like, I was going to say the best of the profession, but being a murderer and a killer isn't really a profession. But, like, you get what I mean. That to me, that's a distinct advantage. But then again, it kind of makes sense that they utilize that because they need some proper assassins. So this lot, they're taught by the personal guard of the archdevil Beleth, and their weapons are fantastic. So we've got Tartarus claws. They are placed in the waters of the river Styx, which makes them insanely poisonous. They have stealth generators, which diffract light, and they use the heart of an innocent and various infernal technologies that are super mysterious that hide them from the eyes of God. And if that isn't enough, and this is my favorite detail for this lot, they also have a silenced pistol.
Oh, well, of course.
Well, they don't want to make too much noise now.
Yeah, when trying to hide from the eyes of God, you need a good silencer, of course, of course.
I love the extra detail of that. Mythological weapons bathed in the river Styx, a stealth generator. They can hide from God, and they've got a silenced pistol. Like, it makes sense.
They got a Beretta. USB 45 silenced tack knife. Commando Pro.
They play too much COD down there, man.
They do. They take no fall damage.
Mm-hmm.
It really feels like in the same vein as the Artillery Witch again, where it's like, here's this mysterious construct. She also throws bombs. It's like, here's this insane assassin. He's also got a silenced pistol. It's just great. So we also do know who the master death commandos are. And funnily enough, they've got some big names, right? One of them, Cain. Quite well known for murdering his brother. Makes a lot of sense. We've also got Barabbas, which I found interesting, and I ended up doing a bit of Wikipediaing, because I couldn't remember. It kind of depends on which Gospels you read as to whether Barabbas was just a dude, a notorious prisoner. So Matthew says notorious prisoner, but in Mark and Luke's Gospels, he's actually described as a murderer who is involved in riots against the Romans. And that's the guy who got pardoned instead of Jesus when they were brought before Pontius Pilate, and he did his traditional thing of, I will spare a prisoner, whoever you say gets to go free, and everyone went for the apparent murderer involved in riots against the Romans. And then the final one is Haman, who is a significant figure in the book of Esther in the Hebrew Bible, who demanded that all Jews in the Persian Empire be exterminated, but Queen Esther stopped him and had him executed instead. So, to varying degrees, 3 absolute wrong-uns heading up the Death Commando unit.
3 absolute wrong-uns. That is a name for them, 100%. Well,
is wrong-uns like a British slang I'm not familiar with?
For wrong ones?
I didn't even really consider that. Yeah, like if someone's a wrong-un, they're just they're bad. They're evil. They're nasty. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I get the, I understand the concept, but
yeah, so I didn't really need to explain that, did I?
I don't know. I kind of expected something more on the lines of like absolute bellend or something on that side of things. All right, I'm learning.
I guess that also applies.
I was expecting absolute evil bastards, the worst of the worst, and like wrong-uns for some reason to me is just like, oh yeah, the kid accidentally spilled some paint. That's a wrong-un, and it's like no, they just wanted to kill all of the Jews, and it's like, okay, that's a little more than just a little wrong-un.
Yeah, I get it.
Right prick that one.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness gracious. What's the so I mean, obviously the Death Commandos. I have to. I don't know at what point we're heading to this particular character, but I want to know about the guy with the nipple tassels.
Oh, the Sin Eater.
The Sin Eater, yes, sir.
There is something else. There is something else.
Please.
So, somewhat important. When they've completed their training, they have their tongues ripped out, so they get to communicate via hand signals. Because they get their tongues ripped out.
Because.
Have we talked about
because
this?
They
sounds
do.
Vaguely familiar, actually. Like this part specifically. Have we discussed this?
We have talked about the Death Commandos previously, because they're the ones who try and interrupt the Council of Saints when that happens. Like they send them in to try and disrupt the faithful, and they also like killed 3 very important people all at the same time. So they're pretty good.
Right. Yes, all correct things. I have not received an answer.
What, as to why their tongues get ripped out?
Yes. Explanations, please.
I don't know. Vibes? I don't know.
Vibes.
Yeah,
Got
I mean. Oh, should I post?
Oh, there we go. There we go.
The tongues of the Death Commandos are ceremonially ripped out at the end of their training. They will never speak of what they have learned, and they're gotcha. It's an act of silence.
Got you. So even if they get captured, they can't tell any secrets. They can't tell how they were trained. They can't tell how to fight hell. They are just locked the fuck in.
I mean,
They don't want to
That's-
tell anyone. Nothing.
and I mean, it's always cool to have like the silent, the silent evil dude, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a classic trope, you know? It's a classic. Oh yeah, and the helmets being a particular shape is because the lower jaw is potentially missing as well. So it's not just the tongue.
Oh, so
I
I
like-
like protect that part.
I like to imagine it's like you kind of grab the tongue, the lower part of the face, and then they just sort of give it a good yang, and then that's it. Job done. Seal it up. Never look at it again.
Kind of reminds me a little bit of a I mean, it looks like a German World War II helmet. I mean, in just total honesty, right? Like, it's kind of got the Kraut helmet type kind of angle, but
Yeah, the top section's got a bit of that. Yeah,
but losing the lower jaw makes him look almost almost looks like Alien, like Ridley Scott's Alien.
I mean,
know,
that's
It looks like the top
Yeah,
piece of the head, right?
fair.
And
Yeah.
the bottom looks like the mouth. You know,
yeah. They look properly creepy.
shy. Hey, Germans are the good guys in this one.
Oh,
That's true.
well,
It is.
I guess
It's
so.
true.
My
Yeah.
apologies.
Well,
But yeah, it kind of looks like Alien. You know, like with the lower half of the mouth and the top like smooth head, kind of does.
yeah, it kind of does. You're
Yeah.
not wrong. It does give
Yeah, I can
kind of
see
sort
it.
of like baby xenomorph vibes. Yeah.
Also, the way the armor is super angled at the front, it just makes it look really uncanny. I know underneath probably they're not filling that out in that way, but it just the more you look at them, the more they just don't look like they were people at any point. But I guess that makes it more fun to know that they were originally child soldiers. Yeah, no, let's move on. So the Sin Eater, right?
Sin Eaters. Yeah, definitely.
It's a bit hellish.
Oh boy.
Such
All
a good
right.
picture.
That is a
That's-
picture.
the face.
Gonna boss baby this one more time. The Kirioth, I'm sure you remember those bastards at Games Workshop took away the nipple armor from our Blood Angels.
Yeah,
Did you notice? Did
Yep.
you notice that the Lord Exultant model of the Emperor's Children has his nipples and they are pierced?
I mean, I think it was all the feedback from losing them off the Blood Angels. They were like, we can't get rid of them off the Emperor's Children. They've got to have some.
There it is. It's pierced, and the first thing I saw with the Sin Eater was his 2 pierced nipple rings, and so maybe that says something about me. I
It
don't
sure
know.
does.
But like, I think it's perfectly acceptable for me to immediately stare at that and not the mountain of other strange things.
What, like the weird mouth that's going on? The gritted teeth mouth that looks like it's actually just their actual mouth, but they're got a big weird helmet covering the rest of their face, like that, for instance.
That his like skull scrotum pouch there is quite something.
Yep.
Yep.
His scrotus. Yeah.
Oh
something
yeah, it looks like
interesting.
Space Kings. It does actually look a bit like that. That Space Kings animation, I totally see that,
Oh.
Shy.
Yeah, because of the big mouth. Yeah, I see that.
So the Sin Eaters are, funnily enough, to do with, since it's Trench Crusade and Hell, absolutely horrible and all about corrupting influence. So this lot, believe it or not, that was a normal man or woman, but they got greedy, like extremely greedy, overwhelmingly greedy, and also had a slight issue with a hunger for human flesh, which, when combined with being near a Hellgate or the Hellgate, just means that they turn into a disgusting creature that like matches their sort of inner desire and needs. So potentially they could have been someone who was starving, they could have been someone who really liked the finer things in life, or priests that wish to devour the sins of their congregation and then eventually want to devour the bodies as well. They like swell into monstrous proportions. Their permanently nearly about to basically explode from eating too much, but they still want more. They still want to eat more people and eat more sins. They are just insatiable in terms of their gluttony.
So this isn't necessarily like a bad, I don't want to say a bad gluttony, but you said if someone was just on the brink of starvation and were just so desperate for food, and if they were close to a hellgate, they would turn into this thing, even though it was like they're not a glutton. They're not necessarily inherently evil. It's just they're starving, and if you're close enough to a hellgate and you desire food that badly that you need it that badly, you'll turn into one? Is that?
Maybe some of them, but then some of them are just like,
Oh,
they
yeah,
really
some of them
wanna
are just
eat people.
gluttonous assholes, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's sort of a mix of a few. Oh, okay.
That's kinda
Shy,
interesting, though. Anyway, go ahead.
you have something to read, DK.
Oh, DK, read this. A priest in the small Bavarian town of Wormlock had a terrible secret. He didn't just take people's confessions, he delighted in them, savored them. The greater the sin, the more he enjoyed it. Eventually, he began extolling his flock to commit more grievous sins as a twisted means to expunge them, but secretly reveled in their guilty confessions. The priest's perverse obsession kept him in the confessional booth night and day, and over the following months he grew unnaturally, horrendously fat, demanding the townsfolk keep him sated with near constant confessions of their sins. The townsfolk grew frightened, refusing to go into the church to face the disgusting priest and his litany of curses and demands. No one knows exactly what happened next, but a terrified county sheriff discovered the priest in the church, swollen to near bursting and slick with gore and bellowing hideous blasphemies, even as the sheriff and his deputies burned the church in the empty town. Yikes.
That is a dude who loved his job a bit too much.
They say, do what you love. You never work a day in your life. and though I must admit, he's working hard.
Yeah, God, that's yeah, that's a story.
What a lad!
What a lad!
What an absolute unit! You know,
Imagine hearing that tale, and your first reaction is, "Man, what a lad!"
I'm taking him
Legend.
immediately with like the football hooligan guy who's like, come on, Lucifer, score some fucking goals. I'm just imagining him being this like enormous dude beating on his chest. It makes the sound of a gong as he's eating more people. I don't know. He's
Probably not too far off.
it's just the fact that he's so big, you know?
I do kind of love the idea of a priest that is just reveling in taking people's confessions to the point where he's like forcing them to go do horrible things so they can like confess to him because he just loves it and he just devours it, and just that's kind of a cool concept though.
It is. It's got a nice feeling of like almost like just betrayal.
Oh,
Like
absolutely.
it's absolutely not there to make people behave worse. It's the antithesis of what he's meant to be doing.
Yeah.
But in the end, he's just a massive dude shouting at people as they burn his church down because he's eaten all of his towns, like all the townsfolk,
Yeah.
like a lad.
He
apparently.
ate.
Like a lad. Yeah,
He ate. Brother, he ate.
He's got like the snapping slay emote, you know? Like,
He
damn,
ate.
he ate.
Sure.
Yeah. Like, so, I mean, obviously in combat, the dude comes up with his giant maul and beats people to death. But he's just like gorge on the remains then, or?
So I'm just looking at the lore primer and I can't see his rules in here. It could just be me being blind. That's entirely possible. It's happened before. But if I remember correctly, he's like super heavy armored. He can smack people around because of the giant mace. For some reason, in the back of my head, I've got it that he can eat stuff. But I'm not 100%. Ah, the mercenaries. That's why.
Oh, he's a mercenary?
Yeah, because he's one of the ones that's allowed to kind of move around into other war bands. instead of
How?
being dedicated to like a single group.
But like, how? He's Heretic
Well,
Legion, is he not?
so he can be in. I think he's allowed to be in court and in Heretic Legions
okay.
and in Black Grail. I think.
As in the various
Yes,
devil worship.
yes, there he is. So yeah, he can be in all three of them.
He can. It's devour the guilty is his ability, but then you can vomit it back up.
Oh wow, that's
insane.
you know.
I
So
love that.
could he turn into a transport?
The Sin Eater attempts to purge a model has devoured as an action. If successful, the model's controller places the model within 1 inch of the Sin Eater. The vomited model is down. The Sin Eater can only use this action if it has a model devoured. So, yeah, I mean, basically.
That's kind of cool. I do like that.
That's so
Weird.
That's great. I really like that.
The Sin Eater can only ever have one consumed model in its belly. What a lad, as they say. And then, yes, tenderizer, maul, two-handed hammer, huge reach, big smack. Indeed.
Also, it just being called the tenderizer, literally something you use for bashing meat, just to make it that bit nicer after cooking, and that's what he's got for his weapon. Love it.
It fits the theme.
Yeah.
Great.
Also, he can
Great unit.
He can eat a friend or foe model. So
He's hungry.
He's got
to eat.
I cannot
Big lad's got to eat.
about to make this goddamn reference. I cannot believe I'm about to make this reference. He's very Tom Kench coded. Eat opponent models to do damage and problems, and carry friendly models to shield them from harm.
Who's Tom Kench?
He's a League of Legends character.
No wonder I had no clue.
He's a big demonic catfish, but you can like eat enemy models to do damage and stuff, but you could also eat friendly models and get like a movement speed bonus as kind of like a carrying them with me kind of thing, you know?
Okay, so he's kind of a little Jeff coded for the
look at that.
kids, right?
That's a great design.
No, he is he's a southern talking catfish who signs deals with those who need travel. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
He's actually a pretty great design. Yeah, he's really fun. Though I will say he does not have his nipples pierced, and that brings him down at least 2 points.
He's not committed hard enough. That's the problem. He does have. I do like the little hat. I really like the little hat.
Yes, the little hat's fantastic. Also, his main rule was you have to like lick and which is like a basic attack enemies a few times to get an acquired taste, and then he's like, "I'm hungry, let's go." It's great.
Oh, I like that actually. That you lick him a couple times, and okay, that's
yeah,
all right. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
He was a nightmare to balance, that character, but he was very fun, and I liked him quite a lot. He was a good time.
Okay.
Anyway, little of that coded, I will say.
Okay.
Anywho,
on a similar note of animal type characters, I don't know how to segue into this. This is the Warwolf Assault Beast, so I guess technically nothing alike. These are horrible, and I really like them. So there's not a huge amount of background for these currently, but it's effectively a construct, but made out of a like captured and possessed creature. And we know from the rules that wears a suit of Tartarus armor. They are hugely tanky. They also have these massive claws that can just shred people apart. But the most important thing, and my personal favorite like item name of all time, he also has a chainsaw mouth. That's literally what it's called. That's what the actual thing is. That's what his face is. He has a face that is just 2 chainsaws because it's designed to charge through barbed wire and clear a path for heretic infantry. So the mouth goes over the barbed wire, chops it, and it just carries on running with all of the other guys like following behind.
If you ever were like,
nice.
I need you to describe from memory what like the werewolf assault beast would look like. This is pretty close. You
Yeah.
know, like
Yeah.
I this is pretty close to what I imagine. Like I see what's that meme where it's like, I'm finally about to watch The Thing, and I know I'm going to find a better name for this than this this creature. And it's like, damn, no, they were right. That really do be a thing.
That's really the thing. Yep.
And so that's my initial and immediate thought is just like, yeah, that really do be the werewolf assault beast.
Yep.
Yep.
Also,
It's pretty on the nose.
We're being a little fast and loose with the armor that it's wearing. I mean, it's got some plates stapled to its skin and a helmet and some greaves, but I don't know if I call that armor.
It's gone to the orc school of armor distribution.
Definitely.
Nail it on there, it'd be fine.
I got the World of Warcraft Cataclysm like staple, like brand all the things to you, nail them all in.
Yeah.
It's a great look though. Like it's a very like cool look. It's just I don't know if I'd call that armor per se.
I call it armor.
Gotta have the plate covering the groin though. You got to protect.
You gotta have
You
that.
gotta correct the net. You gotta guard that. Yep.
The werewolf assault beast came from the same school of armor as the female World of Warcraft characters.
True.
Covers all the important areas and nothing but.
Yep.
What the hell is that guy?
Smooth. Well, you gotta make more assault werewolves somehow, right?
That's why you need the armor over the crotch. How else are they going to make more? You've got to just leave them to it, and then train them up when they get older. So something that could be like a foundation for the werewolf is that they're a reference to reported attacks from rabid wolves during World War One. So in World War One, there was roaming packs of wolves that were just forced into more populated areas of the German Empire due to the war, and they caused chaos in villages, like killing livestock and youths and attacking incapacitated soldiers. And it got bad enough that the Russians and Germans agreed to a temporary ceasefire to take care of the wolves before they then started fighting each other again. So it could be that the war wolves are like a little kind of reference or alternate version of that, which would be really cool if that's the case.
I'm gonna say that's the case, just because I like the idea that is a little nod to that.
I'm choosing to believe it.
Same.
I like it enough that I think that should be. If it's not the case, then it is now.
I choose to believe that is the case, so you can't tell me otherwise. The end.
Yep.
Moving right along.
That's how that works.
Mm-hmm.
God damn. I'm assuming the werewolf seems a little bit like what's the word I'm looking for? Very straightforward.
Oh,
you know, it's just like what is the word?
Yeah.
It cuts the barbed wire and it runs and starts stabbing and clawing people to death, and like that's the end of it. We're not being funny here. Classic.
It's just a straight up horrible thing to have to deal with. Like the fact it's coming from hell is almost like not coincidental, but it doesn't make that big a difference in how horrific that thing is, just as a creature to begin with. Yeah, just very, very simple, runs in, makes it so everyone else can run in, and if you happen to be there at the time, it will instantly kill you, and that's the whole story. So different to the Commandos' silenced pistols and their tongues being ripped out and the witch throwing bombs.
You missed such a good opportunity to be like, yeah, also the wolf carries a silenced pistol.
Okay, someone needs to do that conversion right now. In fact, I own the model. I'm going to do it. Why not?
Also, occasionally the Sin Eater has a special ability to vomit up a silenced pistol. Thank goodness. That's so goofy. That's so goofy.
The artillery witch shows up. Everyone's terrified, but it's okay because this time she is just going to shoot you with a silenced pistol. It's not as bad as the bomb this time round. It's survivable.
The bomb is survivable if you get in a lead refrigerator, right?
No, yeah, she has a silencer on her bomb.
Oh, yeah.
You guys ever seen the tank silencer?
No.
Okay, I don't know if it's a real thing or not, or if it's just like a meme, but I've seen this image a million times, and it always gets me because they put a gigantic inflatable penis on their tanks to silence the gun.
No way that's real. There's
What?
no way.
I mean, I think it's real, but like, I don't know like how much it helped. I mean, I'm assuming it's the kind of thing where like, oh, it will silence a tank in terms of something like you can only hear it from 5 miles away, not 10. But then at the
Mhm.
same time, I also just see an image of this. And that one really makes me laugh.
That's the one. That's what I thought it would be. I did not think it would be the giant inflatable silencer hole.
Kaka.
Yeah, I didn't. That's
The thing is, for me,
wild.
neither of those look real.
I mean, the second one is
Neither of
not
them do.
real. That one is clearly a Photoshop job, but
Yeah.
it's just so funny.
Oh, it's a real thing. It was developed and used on training grounds near cities because the people there complained about the loud fire exercises. I was about to ask, why the fuck does a tank need a silencer in the first place? Like, you're not
So
going to
you can
sneak
sneak
up on
up on
someone with a
people.
tank.
Well, no, I can
Oh,
totally
be quiet
get,
now. Like,
I can totally get the idea of being like, all right, we're moving the things into position, and like the base is this many miles away, and you can tend to hear from this far, but their radar lets you hear from this distance, and then blah blah blah. This makes it lower. I don't know, something like that. But I also can understand they just like don't want people to keep hearing the slamming sounds of the tanks.
yeah,
moving.
the training thing makes sense as to why they would make
Yeah.
that then. That I get that. That's
It's
it's
got-
very nice of them. It's very, very courteous of them to actually go through that because people are like, hey, tank, shut the fuck. Trying to
The
play golf
first
or
time-
something.
Like, imagine moving to that city and then just one night or like one afternoon, it literally sounds like a war starting.
Yeah.
Like the
Probably
first
not.
time you'd be terrified. The second time would be like, oh, is this going to be regular? I reckon by the third time you're hearing artillery going off at like 2 p.m. on a Saturday, you'd be like, this is not acceptable. I don't like this.
Or imagine if they were doing a morning exercise and they're like, oh, yeah, what happens if the war happens at 3 in the morning? And they're doing that at like 3, 4 in the morning and you're woken up by that? Nah.
Hilariously, when I would go camping in the Boy Scouts a lot, I was very close near to Camp Pendleton, and they would do like howitzer drills and stuff like that. And so in the middle of the night, I mean, it wasn't very loud, but you'd hear like a very like it just kind of sound thing in the background. It was quite something. It didn't really
Agreed.
bug us or anything because I mean I was out camping and stuff, but like Camp Pendleton was doing a lot of those things. Occasionally, when I drive down to your neck of the woods, DK, when I take that long stretch between Orange County and San Diego County, you get a little bit of like you see like an osprey or like a some kind of like I wouldn't necessarily call it an Apache, but it's like a similar looking plane or helicopter, kind of just like
Yep.
rolling around, you know.
Just moving down there. Yep.
Yeah. They used to have a bunch of like Chinooks always flying around there. It was neat.
I was gonna say, is that the highway that has the reactor that looks like that every movie's like, oh look, it's a pair of boobs.
The Senate Frey nuclear power plant. Yes.
Yeah. Every time I pass that, it's like, it's the boobs. Look, it's the boobs.
I say that every time. I'm like, we have passed the titties, comma, we have passed the titties.
That's how I gauge how far from home I am on a road trip.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
it's,
we're getting there. We're getting there. There's the boobs, man. We're on the home stretch.
yeah, I mean, it's the 5. It's just the 5 freeway, man. It's easy. Anyway, yeah, I mean, are there any other heretic models that we should know about, Kirioth?
There are technically 3 variants that you can field, but there's quite a lot for them. What I'll do is I will just quickly show you a couple of examples. So we've got heretic naval raiding parties. They look fantastic, and they do what it says on the tin. They are naval raiding parties. So on ships, get off
And
ships,
heretics.
beat the shit out of stuff, and then leave and take all of their things. They are extremely brutal, which is pointed out in the lore, which makes me wonder just how brutal they are, given that, you know, you'd have thought that all the other heretic legions would also be quite brutal, but they get specifically singled out for it. There's also the trench ghosts, which are mad. So sometimes
hell? He has a silenced pistol. No, he doesn't. That's a submachine gun.
Damn it! That's just the machine gun. Looks rad as hell, though.
I'm
Yeah,
so excited.
they are horrible. So if they die on hallowed ground or in the presence of an uncorrupted holy relic, so like when a heretic trooper dies near those, they just get stuck. They aren't claimed by heaven, they aren't claimed by hell, they are dead, but they end up becoming undead, attacking faithful and heretics equally. They just hate all life, and they end up basically fighting a war of their very own, obeying commands that no one who's alive can hear.
Dude, he's a barber. He's a barbmancer. He's a barbed wire mancer.
I thought you were going to call him a barber because of all the barbed wire. I was like,
he's
okay, +2.
He's got all this kind of crazy. So I like that. He's just like, well, if I can't go to heaven or hell, no one
I
will.
can't, yeah.
You come in with me whether you like it or not.
Kill all. Yeah.
And the last variant is the Knights of Avarice, which you can probably guess what they do just by the name. They're all about greed, and they're all about just collecting all the best stuff, all the most expensive equipment, all the most rare equipment, just anything that is bright, shiny, worth a lot, or, hard to come by. That's what they want. On their like rules for fielding them, they have an actual kind of limit as to how little they can spend. You just can't buy cheap units for them because they want all the best stuff, and they do not use fire or explosives. So you don't get an artillery witch because she chucks bombs. Or at least, no, sorry, I tell a lie. You can take the artillery witches, but they don't chuck the normal bombs. Instead, they throw gas bombs, because otherwise you'd blow up all the cool loot. And you can't have fire because otherwise you'd burn all the cool loot. And they're not having that. They're all about looking good.
Oh, is this the golden idol that we talked about earlier?
Oh yeah, there's a golden calf in the background. Yep.
Yeah. Also, this dude,
He's got drip.
Ripped
is
out.
dripped.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he may have the black void in his heart and everything, but who needs a heart when you've got money?
Right. He looks like he should be in that Destiny raid. Is it
Yeah, Leviathan.
Leviathan?
He looks like Callus a little bit.
Yeah. He's got that. Well, I guess purple and gold have always been colors of like royalty, right? Specifically purple.
Opulence.
So yeah.
Also, I love the two people giving a sword to the calves, and they both just don't have heads.
Very on brand.
That's super cool looking. I love that.
They've got their
Shai has a
priorities right
quote
there.
from them. You sold your false redeemer to us for a mere 30 pieces of silver. What makes you think your own price will be any higher?
True.
Good quote. Quality quote.
I like this guy. I kind of want to make a whole third faction out of this. Just like all of the guys underneath the avarice folks, just a pure thing of like, we're here, man, screw heaven or hell. We're here to make money.
We're gonna make money.
And it's a bunch of crustaceans as Mr. Krabs.
Yeah, their thing is literally that the heretics of the path of mammon hoarding riches is not mere acquisition of wealth, it's their religious compulsion. They've got to do it. They have no choice.
That's great. Love that.
And those are the variants for the Heretic Legions. And with that, we've covered pretty much all of it at this point. And then next time we do Trench Crusade, if you want, we can talk about the Court of the Seven-Headed Serpent, because they are distinctly related, because they're the ones who tell most of the heretic forces where to go, who to fight. They're in charge of the war effort. So the two are definitely like interlinked. But the Heretic Legions, all of you mortal guys, or a good chunk of you mortal guys, how they get there and how absolutely horrendous all of them must be, except for the wretches. Because let's be fair, it's not their fault.
Also, Court of the Seven-Headed Serpent will be a great time for later, because surely nothing there could be any worse than the stuff that we've talked about today.
No,
definitely not.
No.
Look how pure they are.
From the model range, it's going to be rainbows, sunshine, and unicorns, right? Very wholesome episode.
Absolutely. Beautiful stuff. Well, I got I got to be honest with y'all. Do you have any other particular end bits to go along with, or are we just going to hop on the board and cut our heads off and start what would the hymn be?
I was just gonna go get breakfast, man. I don't like that's my ending bit. I'm just gonna go make some oatmeal, brother. Like what? Maybe a
With
little
that
granola.
attitude.
Like Jesus.
You're never going to get past the gates of hell with that attitude. You've got to commit harder than that.
Yeah. I'm not going to go to the seventh circle of hell unless it hits at least 10,000.
At least we gotta get at least 10,000.
We gotta get at least 10,000.
At least 10,000. Yep.
Call me again when the gates of hell let you fly in the air for 4 minutes going into your pool.
Excuse me. After this episode's done, I need to get my banana facial going. My banana peel facial. So
God, we could 7 more Saratoga waters for my bowl. Thank you. All right, hell yeah. I love hell!